guys, this is Tauna. Today we have some new Avatar The Last Airbender reveals for the upcoming Magic the Gathering set. And honestly, I don't know if I'm more hyped for this or more hyped for Spider-Man. Both were my childhood. The actually interesting thing about this was that the show is 20 years old today. So those people who are around like that kind of, 10 to 15-ish mark, around that age, we all know this show, right? Yeah, it's been a big part of a whole bunch of people's childhood and everything. But then there's other people who are like, what the hell is this? But the good thing is that the cards look like they can fit into Magic as well, which is really great. I am incredibly excited about this. We've got potentially our first look at bending here, or we definitely have our first look at bending here, which is interesting because it seems like there might be two different paths to this, like two different abilities between like fire bending and fire bend. So we'll get into that in a minute. Before we do though, make sure you guys subscribe, make sure you share the video around, all that kind of stuff. I would love to be able to hit 20,000 subscribers by the end of July. I know that that's not long, but that's only like 1,070 subscribers. We can easily do that. If all you people who are watching the video who aren't subscribed yet, make sure you do, because, who knows, the YouTube algorithm could just throw me away and you never get to see up-to-date, news like this again. So make sure you subscribe, make sure you share the video around. So let's get into it. First of all, we have the Aang card that we've already seen. I wanted to kind of briefly show you guys this one again, just because you'll need to know it for later. So this is Avatar Aang. This is the special art for it. Number 363 here. He's got flying and fire bending 2. So keep in mind that he's fire bending 2. And then it's got, whenever you water bend, earth bend, fire bend, or air bend, draw a card. Then if you've done all 4 this turn, transform him. On his flip side, he has flying. Spells you cast cost 1 of each color less to cast. Keep in mind that can also reduce the generic cost of spells, which is absolutely huge. And then at the beginning of upkeep, you may transform him back. If you do, gain 4 life, draw 4 cards, and then put 4 +1s on him, and then deal 4 damage to each opponent. Most likely keeping him on this side is like the better option, but depending on what firebending actually does, you may want to kind of flip him back eventually. We'll have to see. I'm going to be very interested to see exactly what happens here. Then we saw the Katara the Fearless. And Katara, when I was younger, I'm like 10. She was honestly one of my first crushes. I absolutely love Katara. She's just such a badass in the show. She's really easy to kind of... She'll put Aang into his place, as well as just be like this incredibly strong female character. It's just amazing. I love her. She's amazing. So this one here was the special promo. If you went to San Diego Comic-Con, you could get a hold of this. It has, if a triggered ability of an ally you control triggers, that ability triggers an additional time. Keep in mind, Aang is an ally. Both of these two are allies. It looks like allies is going to be a big thing here. So there was General Tazri, I think, from back with the Gatewatch set, Oath of Gatewatch. Definitely potentially going to be a big character if you are building like an Avatar set here. Yeah, just extra triggers on your allies. Alrighty, next up we got Yue the Moon Spirit. So there's a couple interesting things about this. First of all, they showed another art of this over here, which says main set underneath it. Now, I don't know if that means that there's potentially a borderless set, or this is the non-borderless version of it, or it's an alternate bonus sheet potentially there, or what exactly it means by main set. I assume it means that that's the main art for it. That's the not borderless version like we've got here, but either way, we can see the borderless version here, which is in like the elemental border, which is really cool. There's a few different things that I really love about this. First of all, it looks like it's going to be different for each of the elements. So like this part here will be different colored for each of the elements and stuff. They've got the symbol here, where they can put the symbol of each of the different tribes there. So, this is the UAs from the water tribe, the northern water tribe to be specific. So they can put the, water tribe symbol here. I believe it was the northern. Yeah, she's the northern. Obviously, it's just amazing. I love it. So she's got flying, vigilance. She's also an ally as well. Water bend 5. So this part here is very interesting. Water Bend 5, tap, you may cast a creature spell, non-creature spell from your hand without paying its mana cost. So, you know, it's kind of like an omniscience light on her. But this part here is interesting. Water Bend 5. This is a cost, right? That's a cost for activating this ability. So you pay this cost and then tap her and then play it. With the one on Aang, this is not a cost, right? This is just Firebending 2. It doesn't even have the mana symbol here. It should technically have the mana symbol if it was going to, because, you know, these over here have the mana symbol, but it doesn't. Therefore, it's different. They're different abilities. It looks like, you know, the actual Water Bend, Earth Bend, Fire Bend, Air Bend is a cost that is used for abilities, while Fire Bending, Earth Bending, Water Bending, Air Bending are all triggered or something ability. So getting into it, I'll show you that in a minute. First of all, you can play UA and then you can use Imprisoned in the Moon on her to just recreate one of the best scenes of the actual show, which is this. My first girlfriend turned to the moon. That's rough, buddy. I love this. This is so good. Yeah, you can imprison her in the moon, which is just hilarious. And both of these are going to be legal, obviously, within standard at the same time, because Imprisoned in the Moon was reprinted within Foundations. So if you wanted to imprison someone's UA in the moon, go ahead, which is just funny. And the other part of this is very interesting, and I'm putting this out because of the feedback that I got yesterday within my video about the size of the Spider-Man set. This UA card is number 338 in collector number, right? Now, the latest collector number, the highest collector number that we have currently for Spider-Man is 234 in regards to borderless, alt arts, etc. So this is obviously, you know, the borderless version of it. So this is 338. That's like nearly 100 higher than the Miles Morales borderless version here. That's pretty good. And then the Iron Spider, which is actually the latest card, or the highest number card that we've seen from Spider-Man currently in the extended art. Now, keep in mind, extended art typically will be placed after all of the borderless, all of the, you know, alt arts, all the different framing, all the booster fun stuff, basically. Is 279, which is still another 60 before this UA that's just a just like a borderless version of it. So that is very interesting. You know, I don't know if it means that the set is going to be the exact same size as previous sets. I'm going to take it as I think that this does mean that this set is going to be a normal sized set, not like a smaller set like the Spider-Man one was. Interesting thing was that the Spider-Man set was originally even smaller. It was an Aftermath size set, and then they ended up going back and adding more into it because of the fact that, you know, people didn't like the Aftermath style sets, and because of the fact that they just had more ideas for stuff. So yeah, it's interesting. I think that this is pretty telling and pretty exciting that this whole Avatar set seems to be a big kind of full-size set, potentially. I keep saying potentially because of the fact that I could be wrong, but looking at it, to me, it seems that way. So what is the bending? So there's two different types of bending, or two different abilities to do with bending, that from what we can tell. There is one, which is the element bend, which is this part up here. So this doesn't appear to be, this appears to be like a cost that you do for abilities or activated abilities, right? So here you've got water bend, because keep in mind that Magic is a very, very literal game. The something called water bend is a different ability to something called water bending, right? Does that make sense? So Water Bend 5 is a part of the cost for activating this ability. You can tell it's an activated ability because it's got the two dots there, as well as the fact that this has a mana cost tied to it as well, evident by this 5. So it's Water Bend 5. So I don't know exactly how that's going to work. Maybe it's like, you know, Water Bend is pay 5, but you can also tap a blue permanent to reduce that cost or something like that. Or, you know, the other part of it is obviously, you know, with that blue element, like tap a blue thing, there is another part of it, which is this fire bending, or element bending. So water bending would be the one that kind of coincides with this. So this one seems to be either a keyworded ability or a triggered ability. Now I say keyworded ability because of the fact that it's up here next to like flying, right? Like where, you know, you've got the different keyworded abilities where death touch, flying, you know, all that kind of stuff. Up there next to that. It's also got a number next to it, but this number is not a mana cost. It is not, you know, firebending 2 mana or anything like that. It's just firebending 2. Now, so that's like a keyworded ability, or it could be a triggered ability. It could be something like, you know, whenever you attack, do this. Now, my thoughts on it are that this reduces the cost of the bending abilities, right? So UA is not actually a waterbender. She's just a part of the waterbending tribe. She, you know, works alongside waterbenders. Waterbenders are her protectors and everything like that. So therefore, you know, you could use those abilities there to reduce the cost of what she's doing. I also think that it could potentially be a triggered ability because of what Katara does. Katara specifically makes it so that the ally abilities trigger twice. So maybe what she does is whenever this creature attacks, so say whenever your Aang attacks, reduce the cost of fire bends by 2 until the end of your turn. So it's not reducing, like it's reducing the cost, but not by like just until the end of turn or something. I don't know what's going on with my light at the moment. It's really weird. I don't know. We'll have to see. I'm pretty excited to see exactly what's going on with this. It does, like, you know, I think that I'm along the right path, that the water bend is a part of a cost. That's to get your abilities. Makes sense because water bending is what you do to be able to do the stuff. And then water bending is what enables you to be able to, you know, water bend. Let me know if you think I'm along the same track or if I'm completely off. I do think that, you know, water bend and water bending are having to be 2 different things because of how literal Magic the Gathering is, though. So this also potentially means that this is a parasitic set. Now, if you don't know what a parasitic set is, it is one that only really interacts with things in its own set rather than going back throughout Magic or anything like that. So that means that if this water bend and water bending only tie together, right? They're only in the same set together, then that means that they are currently going to be parasitic until they bring in, you know, more water bending, fire bending, earth bending, or whatever later on down the track. Potentially, it doesn't even need to be tied to an Avatar The Last Airbender set. They could potentially use that in other sets, but we'll have to see. It's a very, very interesting thing if it is parasitic, because typically they try and kind of avoid that because it's not very, you know, it doesn't really tie in with the rest of the set. But that's another thing, is that people really weren't happy about the fact that, you know, these sets are going to be standard legal. But if this, you know, firebending, waterbending is all parasitic and kind of tied into its own set, that means that if people are playing this in like standard and stuff, typically they'll be wanting to keep the avatar cards all together and everything. But who knows? Maybe I'm completely off track. Let me know. We're going to see more of these reveals in 2 weeks' time. This is going to be the first preview for Avatar The Last Airbender. That's interesting because we just got the first preview basically for Spider-Man. And, you know, Spider-Man comes out, what? I'm really lost on when sets are coming out nowadays, because it's like Spider-Man's September 26th. So we'll see. We do typically see, like, you know, some cards ahead of time, which is nice and interesting. But yeah, I'm pretty excited about this. I'm very excited about this. I am very much fully understanding that we are in the middle of Edge of Eternity's pre-release. You know, I've got like Edge of Eternity's cards sitting all over my desk and I'm talking about this. But yeah, I hope you guys had a wonderful day. Let me know what you think. Have a great day and goodbye.